inside time. So I'm really pleased to meet Duncan. I was just remembering that I've only actually met him once before, and that was in San Jose at the O'Reilly eTech conference, where we just had a chat over coffee. And you didn't do the Arup presentation that day. Your colleague
Chris
did.
Was
Yeah.
based in San Francisco.
Right, and it was really, really exciting. So I thought, when we get Amplified Leicester going, one of the first people I want to invite is Duncan. So I'm really pleased that he could come. Just a bit about who he is. He's involved with the Arup STEEP approach to exploring the diverse factors impacting our cities and the tools they use to create plausible futures, which is an interesting concept, through their Drivers of Change project. So he's part of the Foresight Innovation and Incubation team at Arup, and he's responsible for researching medium and long-term futures, and I'm interested to hear what that means in terms of numbers, with a focus on social and technology factors. So he develops foresight and innovation capability within Arup. He co-created the Drivers of Change concept, and he program manages a series of workshops on the future of the built environment. So this morning we've already been thinking about projects that could influence the future of Leicester in 50 years, but I guess you're going to be talking in different measures of time than that. So we've got until 1:45, so welcome Duncan, and thanks very much. Look forward to it.
Thank you. Thanks for that kind introduction. It sounds very exotic, sort of meeting in San Jose and then here. Okay, so Duncan Wilson from Arup. I've got a presentation here which can be extended or contracted, and I quite like it when people do chip in and ask questions as we're going through. So please feel free to have a. I always prefer discussions rather than presentations, so feel free to kind of chip in and ask stuff if you don't understand what I'm going through. What I'm going to try and cover is who Arup are, kind of what the Foresight team does at Arup, and how we kind of fit into the ecosystem of Arup, how that kind of group actually exists. And then I'm going to go through some of the output of the research that we've been doing over the past 6 years, just to give you a hint as to what some of the both the approaches that we've taken on, but also the kind of content that comes out of it. And then I've also brought down some of the actual materials that we use, and the best way for you to actually figure out if this stuff is useful or not is to actually sort of just have a really quick go of it. So we'll probably spend about 20 minutes just around tables actually having a play with the stuff. So that's kind of that is kind of my intent. So just before I start, has anybody heard of Arup? Do you know who they can I show a quick show of hands? Yeah, that's typically about right. 5% of the population usually is heard of Arup. I'll explain who we are, but first of all, I'll explain myself a bit. This is a Wordle that describes me in 2007-2008. So this is all of the web pages that I've tagged on Delicious. So it kind of shows a view of who I am. So as I'm talking, I'll quickly some of those words. I'm an engineer by background, but I then did research in artificial intelligence and sort of machine vision type environments. So I got very interested in how computers are helping us start to augment our lives in certain ways. I was very kind of influenced by user-centered design approaches, and that was both through sort of product design, sort of in the late 90s, but also product design and also service design. And before I was at Arup, I was working for Sainsbury's, looking at their supply chain group, looking at what the future of home delivery was. So this was a time when all the retailers were moving through a big change from kind of the classic big retail outlets to the smaller shops plus the home delivery. I joined Arup in the R&D group, and I was responsible for trying to look at the medium to longer term horizon. And in the context of us, that meant the medium is the 5 to 10 years, and the long term is 10 years plus type horizon. The R&D group at the time was about 50 people, and the majority, about 48 of those people, were focused on helping the business around the Arup world to just deliver research projects today. So it's very much kind of, the R&D group was more of a second line of defence. So if you were pouring concrete in the Philippines and it was cracking and you'd never seen that before, you didn't know why it was cracking, you could call someone in R&D and say, help. ever seen this before. So we then split off to try and figure out how to get the different business units thinking more about the future of the built environment. And that's where the Foresight work came about. I'll introduce that shortly. So, who is Arup? This is Arup. This is Arup. So Arup. He set up the practice in the late 50s in London. And we're a firm of engineers, designers, and we've actually grown quite diverse now. So whereas originally we were focused on kind of buildings, we now do infrastructure projects. We even do things like financial consulting around should large projects be done, such as things like Terminal 5 at Heathrow, things like extending the Channel Tunnel rail link. We actually canvassed the government when the first Channel Tunnel rail link was proposed and said, no, it's wrong, it shouldn't go into Waterloo, it should go into King's Cross. And here are all the reasons why, both from sustainability, financial, engineering perspective. And we convinced them, and then we won the contract to then project manage Channel Tunnel rail link. So that kind of hopefully gives a flavour of the kind of work that we're doing. We're in about 91 offices now worldwide, working in about 128 countries at the moment, typically about 10,000 projects on the go at any one point in time, and we've grown completely organically. Yep. So there's never been any real big plan as to how we're going to take over the world. It's just been people wanting to move to a different country or getting excited by doing a project in a particular place. But if you go to our website and look in, I think it's probably in the About section, or if you just do a search on the website, it's something called the Key Speech. This is a document that everyone is sort of asked to read when they start, and it really describes well kind of the whole ethos or philosophy of the firm. So if you want to read one thing to find out about Arup as a company, I'd say read that document. I read it before I joined and thought it was marketing fluff. I then joined and realised actually no, it is actually the core philosophy of the company. It's actually real words. So worth having a little read. The kind of projects that we do, this was one of Ove's, can everyone tell what this is?
Australia.
Sydney Opera House. This is one of his first projects that he got involved with Gibson. And this was at a time when the architect designed a shape in a competition, and they went, oh God, we can't make it. And so there's a huge design challenge to actually figure out how to actually make the shape of these roofs. And so there was things like we used the first sort of commercial PC to do the analysis to actually check that the calculations would actually make the thing stand up. So this is a great example of the kind of work that we're known for. It's the project that nobody else can do. We're typically more expensive than everybody else, so we're trying to solve challenges that nobody else can. Heavily involved in the Beijing Olympics. We did both the Aquatic Centre and also the Bird's Nest Stadium. Again, this stadium from a sustainability, forget that it looks absolutely fantastic, it's just an amazing design. It's actually driven by sustainable requirements. So we're gathering something like, 90% of the solar energy that hits that is being stored and trapped to heat the pools, to condition the air inside. And so whilst it might look as though it's quite an expensive building to run, it's been designed to be very efficient. A bit closer to home, this is a junction on the M1, and it's a simulation. We've been heavily involved in the work going on recently between junctions 21 and 30, doing the widening of the M1. And this was both from just the consulting around should it be done, why should it be done, what are the reasons for doing it. But also then we built a lot of the tools like this one, which is a simulation using games engine technology that was used in public consultation to get feedback from people, from the local community to say what they thought of the planning proposal. So a very different planning approach to what normally happens. And the second project, quite local, is this one. So we designed this building. This is they always try and find out a building that's being done nearby by us that I can mention to people in case they know it. So quite actually this one is one of our